I'm John Dixon with Silicon Labs. I'm really happy to be here with Ron Konezny from Digi, as CEO at Digi. I'll maybe give a quick introduction of yourself to the viewers.
Sure. John, great to see you again. Ron Konezny with Digi International. I'm the CEO and president. Been here for now a decade, which in technology years is what,
About 50 years?
Right-ish. Yeah.
Excellent. So we've been partners, Silicon Labs and Digi, partners for a long time throughout your presidency at Digi and before. And I think for from what I've seen, really Digi has changed and moved into really more solutions and kind of catering to customers from a solutions perspective. Tell us a little bit more about that and the evolution that Digi's gone through to get to where we are today.
Quick background. Before joining Digi, I had a fleet management company called PeopleNet that I started. And PeopleNet, defying fleet management, is kind of the ultimate, the granddaddy of IoT solutions. Large markets, but it involved similar building blocks. You have a device and firmware that went into a truck, a wireless network, typically cellular, but sometimes Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, and then a cloud-based software solution and mobile app. So I've got firsthand experience in operating an IoT system. And when I joined Digi, I saw we were providing a pretty narrow slice of that value chain, which is really the device and software that sat on the device. And what I saw over and over again was companies really struggling to put together the other pieces of that IoT solution, whether it's connectivity or cloud or mobile app. And so we saw this opportunity to become a more complete provider for our customers. So they could not just focus on building the IoT solution, but taking advantage of the data that's generated by, and that's really the insight. So it's really providing hardware-enabled software and services in combination with the devices. That's been our big pivot.
Yeah, and then how have you seen that, the kind of evolution of customers' needs and how you've kind of pivoted to meet those on the software side as well? Like what new needs, what kind of big challenges are you kind of answering for your customer base?
Yeah, I think there's been some really amazing things with people scaling their business, both in numbers and across geographies. Being able to update your software remotely has become critical. I became the chief apology officer early in my tenure when customers would deploy solutions and then they wouldn't be able to update the software and they're like, hey, your device doesn't work. I'm like, well, do you have the latest firmware updated? And they're like, what are you talking about?
Yeah.
And so when you give people a more complete solution, because things are changing and they're changing faster and faster, technology, regulation, your own business opportunities and challenges. And so be able to manage a living thing versus set it and forget it.
Yeah.
Set it and forget is gone.
Yeah. And I think we talked about this, I think, yesterday as well, on the security side becoming more prominent, and the fact that now security wrappers around all of these, this IoT capabilities becoming more important. You want to talk a little bit about that as well?
Yeah, for unfortunate reasons, there's, a lot of, ill-intended actors out there that are causing a lot of problems. And with some of our most revered institutions, banks, governments, utilities. And so it's becoming more and more important to have extremely secure solutions from a business perspective. And then you complement that with the avalanche of regulation that's hitting. And it's no longer okay to not be secure. You could face pretty severe penalties and fines, maybe even restrict your business if you don't have the right security profile in place. And we're seeing larger companies in particular leading the way with very intense security questionnaires that we have to complete in order to qualify just for the RFP process, let alone secure their business. So it's really risen up, I think, the priority of all the different capabilities people look for. Reliability is still number one. We survey our customers in the market every year. Reliability remains the number one, which makes sense, right? I wanted to provide something remote,
of course,
and then you got to go out and fix it every year, right? But then the security has really risen up to a top three desire in terms of what they're looking for other partners.
Yeah, and I think from Silicon Labs, I think we see exactly the same thing. I think it's probably been really accelerated in the last 1 to 2 years from what I've seen versus the prior few years on the security side. And I think on the solution side, I think customers are demanding more and more of the product versus just a component. And I think that's where you guys hit perfectly to solve that need.
Yeah, and you see a lot of companies, especially larger ones, they're trying to really defer their risk and put it on their suppliers, right? So I think those that can rise up to the occasion can get more market share.
Yeah, and more business. What kind of segments have you seen kind of collecting and kind of clustering that are needing the kind of solutions that you have? Is there any specific kind of segment that's really kind of been more prominent in your mind?
Yeah, a couple verticals really stand out. One is certainly renewables. And we've got a lot of success in residential solar. We've got a lot of success in commercial solar farms, wind farms, EV charging. All that renewable has been a pretty constant theme. Medical devices are really, really important. Medical devices, they're interested in delivering care to the patient. They are not experts in IoT, and they're willing to cede that part of the value chain to companies like Digi, and especially now they face increased scrutiny and regulation on making sure their devices are secure. Like the last thing we want is an infusion pump that got hacked.
Yeah, from the security, that's the core of their needs. Yeah, we see that as well from a side. So, I think it's really interesting. I think a lot of the segments that you're seeing are exploding from what I've seen in terms of not just the number of companies, but just the proliferation of use cases that are being kind of run through. So I'm glad to see you're out there solving the needs of those customers. So really Silicon Labs and Digi International, what does the partnership, what has it meant to you guys? Like how have we both benefited, and maybe talk a little bit about the partnership from your perspective?
Yeah, listen, Silicon Labs, I think the partnership is extremely unique and strong. And I think it starts at leadership level. You've got cultures that I think are very similar. I think we want each other to win. It's not, of course, a blank check, right? But we're very reasonable about when we have challenges. I think we work through them. We have opportunities, the same thing. And so I think that's really unique. I was just visiting with one of our other partners and I actually told them, I said, hey, you don't behave in this way. And I think you're not going to get as much of our business because you're not sharing these same values. You're not communicating as effectively. You're not allowing access to leadership, and you're not providing some unique opportunities. And so I think that's been the foundation. And the thing that I think sets Silicon Labs apart, excellent communication skills. And when you have challenges or opportunities, communication is typically the number one thing that's either there or lacking. And when it's lacking, especially in today's day,
Very obvious.
People don't want to talk to each other much anymore. They just want to interface via data and computers. But that's an important basis of the foundation.
Okay. No, and that's both from our side and to yours. It's a very transparent relationship, has been excellent. And it's easy when you're able to communicate when anything's going right or wrong. So that's perfect. I think the last question is really about the future. Where do you see Digi International in 5 years? Like what do you see the next steps? What do you see the next evolution?
Yeah, our number one focus, as we talked about, is becoming a more prominent solution provider. And we measure the progress of our journey with an acronym called ARR, Annualized Recurring Revenue. It's a financial metric, but it basically says how much of our solutions are being consumed by the marketplace. When I started, it was 0%. Now we're up to 25% of our revenues, our ARR. I'd like to see that double. I'd like to see that get to 50% within 5 years, a combination of organic growth and probably 1 or 2 acquisitions. I'd like to see us get closer to $1 billion in revenue. We're about $500 million now. The revenue is not as important as ARR. I'd like of that $1 billion in revenue, $500 million to be recurring in nature. And that's a sign that the market has really adopted our solutions.
Perfect. Ron, thank you very much for the time.
Absolutely. Pleasure, John.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
And thanks for the partnership. And thank you all for watching. I really appreciate your time, and see you next time.